we're about to listen to the next presentation of the day, Türkiye, Your Resilient Partner, presented by Mr. Burak Dağlıoğlu, the President of the Investment Office of the Presidency of the Republic of Turkey, Invest in Turkey. Please come to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving this opportunity to us, Konrad, and we are thankful to Brand Finance for organizing such an important event. So our agenda is a little niche. We are targeting foreign direct investment community, and we are promoting Turkey as an investment destination since 2006. And I wanted to give you some, background information about Turkey from economic perspective. Because I wanted to make sure that you know what the product is, and then later we will go to how we communicate it. So as Konrad mentioned, this is our recent campaign. We started in 2021. It says Türkiye, Your Resilient Partner. So we will come to the idea of or the message behind this campaign. So this is my outline. It's long, but it will flow rapidly, hopefully. So this is the economy of Turkey. So currently we are ranked 17, in terms of GDP ranking of the countries. At purchasing power parity, this is a kind of economical technical explanation. We are ranked 11th. So back in 2003, when President Erdogan, when the current power party took the office, Turkey was like a medium-low income country with a GDP per capita at around $3,000. Now it is a medium-high income country with a GDP per capita around $11,000. And according to the international definition, after 15,000 level, it is considered to be a high-income country. And while we are reaching out to the investor community, we are giving that vision. So in the following years, Turkey will be ranked among top 10 economies globally. By PPP, it will be better, and it will be a high-income country. So back in 2003, when they took the office, they had a plan how to grow this economy. Well, basically, you need financing, and this is unfortunately a low-saving country. The capital accumulation was limited. So the solution, there are a number of solutions, was at least to contribute from the global perspective to import capital. How you do that? It can be debt, it can be capital. In the form of capital, it can be foreign direct investment, or it can be portfolio investment. So our investor target community is the direct investor community. So these are our, let's say, vision for the future or targets for the future to grow our economy in the following years. So when we speak about the FDI, it's a word like that. In last year, the global FDI, in 2022, last year is not announced yet, was around $1.3 trillion. So Turkey attracts almost 1% of the global FDI in the recent years. But there is a comparison, before 2003 and, after 2003. We were attracting less capital from the global flows. So the average was around $1 billion. Now it is around $13 billion. We used to attract, 0.2% of the global FDI inflows. Now it is around 1%. And we would like to grow it to 1.5% level. So these are the countries investing in Turkey. You can see that these are mainly Western countries. Of course, there are a number of Asian or Gulf investors, but our economic activity is too much integrated with the Europe and United States, let's say. So these are a kind of regional breakdown of top investing geographies. 70% of the FDI came from Europe, roughly 8% from Northern America, roughly 7% from Gulf countries, and the rest is Asia. Asia includes Japan, Korea, China, Singapore, Malaysia, and Azerbaijan. We have special relations with Azerbaijan, so they are one of the top investors in Turkey. So while marketing, while positioning your brand, invest in Turkey brand, we had to define our competition geography, because it's not meaningful to compare Turkey like a distant geography or with a country at a different economic activity level. So this is a kind of scientific study, because in many investor site selection studies, Turkey is compared within this geography, roughly, let's say. Of course, in some cases we are compared with some other emerging markets like Brazil, India, this and that. But this is 90% our competition geography. And in the last 2 decades, from a FDI inflow, the dollar basis term, we attracted 9.5% of the capital inflows to our competition geography. We are ranking among top, the third place, let's say. So this definition of the competition geography is important for us for all our next steps while designing our FDI strategy, while designing our promotion and communication strategy, and etc. So this is the sectoral breakdown. We say the country is resilient, and we will come to that point. It's a very diverse set of industries because in some our competition countries, they are focusing on just a few industries. But if you look at Turkey, it's a very wide, diversified industrial economy. It is surrounded by all services industries. We have a very strong, robust financial industry. We have a kind of strong agriculture and food industry, and etc. So this is a very diverse economy. This is 86 million population. So in the region, this is a sizable country. Why FDI is important for Turkey, or after 20 years, what are our achievements? As I said, this is a low saving country, and we have to import capital because at the same time, this is a current account deficit country, which means that we import more than we export. This is mainly because of natural resources, energy, and some minerals. FDI inflows are important for us to cover that current account deficit. So in the last 2 decades, roughly FDI contributed to 40% to cover this current account deficit. The rest is debt and the portfolio type of investments. Secondly, this is important for us with an employment perspective. Back in 2 decades ago, less than 6,000 companies with international capital were operating in Turkey. Now it's around 80,000. And the employment of the private sector, almost 8% of the private sector employment comes from companies with an international capital. R&D is important for us. Manufacturing is also important, but we are focusing much more on the R&D because this is how you create technology. Currently, 700 multinationals are conducting R&D studies, R&D activities in Turkey. Back in 2 years ago, this number was just 450. The growth is exponential, and we are targeting to get more R&D from international companies, and 30% roughly of the private sector R&D expenditures are done by the multinational companies. Another important aspect is the exports, because we are positioning Turkey as a key country in the global value chains. Turkey has a regional hub position. So this export KPI is also important for us. Roughly 30% of the FDI exports are done by multinationals in Turkey. And their goods, the technology level of the goods that they export is higher than the local companies' average. You can see that 60% of their exports are high to medium-high technology products. So why IPAs are important? Because this is our daily task. We compare our activities with other IPAs. We are trying to understand what others are doing, what are their strategies, and etc. And for the ones who doesn't know that aspect, so these are the number of national IPAs globally. You can see that after 2000s, the number grew exponentially. And we were also established in 2006, so this is in line with the global developments. And back in 2006, when Invest in Turkey office was established, globalization was at its peak. It was just before a global crisis, the famous mortgage crisis in the United States. And the global FDI was close to $2 trillion. As I said, 2 years ago, it was 1.3 trillion US dollars. So the FDI flows globally were at a kind of peak. And there was a momentum of growth in the world economy. And in 2003, we started a new journey under a new leadership. So the main essence of the reasons of the success was the commitment to the economic reform agenda. So this is our understanding, and this is the feedback that we get from the investors. In 2003, the first thing was changing the foreign direct investment law in Turkey. And in our own language, we do not say it foreign because it excludes some people. We use a more inclusive word, international investors. law, and it's a quite, how should I say, liberal one. And if you look at the whole reform agenda of Turkey, it is to make sure that the transparency is increased, the economy is liberalized through some privatization programs, to liberalize many different industries, and to make sure that Turkey is integrated to the global economy with all aspects. Tourism, energy, finance, industry, supply chains, this and that. And there is an index that we monitor our FDI, let's say, attractiveness or the environment. It says that FDI regulatory restrictiveness, back in 2003, we were below Russia with 0.28, let's say. And when you are close to the zero, it means that your country is open to FDI. Now we are one of the most liberal countries in terms of the attraction of the foreign capital, international capital to Turkey. Back in 2006, when we were established, it was Prime Ministry Investment Support and Promotion Agency. So the name gives all the activities that we do. We promote Turkey and we provide our facilitation services, support services to the companies. And this was our logo. There was a motto: push the button for more power to your global business. So this was our inception or launching campaign at that time. And we have a approach like one-stop shop service approach, because one of the things that we do is we are coordinating all the processes of the investment on behalf of the investors. So back in 2018, we had a referendum in the country. Now we have executive presidential system in the country. And at that time, previously, the Prime Ministry was the head of executive body, and we were reporting to that. Now we are reporting to the president, so there is no change. FDI is still a priority, and we are reporting to the president in the new system. And this is our new logo. These stars around our button is representing the presidential emblem. So it states that this office is reporting to the presidency. So a minor change in the logo. It didn't take too much effort to promote it among our investor community, so there is not a big change. And we had to introduce Invest in Turkey brand around those days, because it was creating a kind of confusion while we say Presidency Investment Office, because sometimes it is misperceived, like there are sovereign wealth funds globally. There was some confusion about what we do, so we said that this is Invest in Turkey organization. And what we do, this is our daily or long-term operational strategy. We do research, we do planning, we do promotion and branding. And then the whole target is to create a pipeline of FDI projects. So we do attraction, we attract new investment projects, we provide our services to facilitate their experience in Turkey. And then when they are in the market, when they operate, we provide our aftercare services, so we don't leave them alone when they step in the country. And we also do policy advocacy to improve the investment environment in the country. So this is a kind of circular thing. We do it on a daily basis. I've been doing it for almost 15 years, so I'm enjoying it. And of course, we borrowed this from brand finance. This is a part of soft power index, so investment is under the business and trade, and in our perspective, we are contributing to the soft power of the country. So the promotion, it is really a kind of challenging task, especially with the changing global trends, technologies, medium or media in general. So I'll try to give you an idea of, or sense of how we promote Turkey. So we prepare FDI strategy, and then we prepare a kind of message house, and then we develop our campaigns since inception. And then we create content definitely, so I would like to skip those parts. And the whole idea is to reach out to your target business community. And the challenging task is the investor community is not unique. There are different investor profiles. And there are different, let's say, approaches. For example, one definition is financial investor, the other one is strategic investor. Now, the strategic investors are those corporate structures who are investing in their business areas. Financial investors are like sovereign wealth fund, family offices, venture capital funds, private equity funds. Another definition could be the sectoral definition. You know, a manufacturing company expects something totally different than energy investor, or a services investor, or a financial industry investor expects some other things. So in this backdrop, we focus on, you know, providing those personalized or you know, the vertical specific media campaigns. But still you need to do a general branding as well. So this is a kind of challenging task for a person, you know, having economics and finance background to communicate with your target audience. So how we kind of had a promotion story in the last, you know, 15 or 16 years. Back in 2006, when we were established, as we mentioned, we started our campaign to promote that there is an office in Turkey now serving to the global investor community. And at that time, our motto was push the button. And we promoted it almost for 3 years. And during the global crisis, we said that, okay, there is a declining FDI inflow, the shrinking FDI pie globally. So we wanted to make a new campaign. And it was like a kind of love letter to the investors. It was, you know, like companies love Turkey, Turkey loves companies. So our media was mainly shipments from Turkey to Europe. We addressed those containers. We addressed even the parcel cargo, or, you know, we had some stickers on those items or deliveries. Because globally the exports were declining, and we said that Turkey is an export economy, and it was a good medium for us to reach out to our investor community. And then back in 2014, we had a new campaign saying that always Turkey. This campaign was launched in airport terminals to reach out to the global, you know, travel community, because the global investors are traveling a lot, and we thought that airport could be the, you know, right location to reach out to them. And after the airport, we tried a new thing, and this is, you know, still, you know, flying. We dressed Airbus 330 airplane with our logo. So it has been flying since 2015, and it flew to 76 countries, 123 cities. It had a kind of, you know, distance of 14.3 million kilometers. And we believe that it was a successful one. It is still a successful one, because many investors are sending me photos of this airplane from different world cities, let's say, you know, from Asia, from Americas. So we still love this campaign. Back in 2017, we started a new campaign saying that take a closer look at Turkey, because at that time there were some, you know, perception issues, and we thought that, you know, we have to invite investor community, the audience, to have a closer look at Turkey. This was mainly launched in traditional media, especially in the newspapers and magazines and the mainstream media, and it was, we believe, successful at that time. We reached to our targets, and 2018 was an important year for us for our marketing activities. Again, as I mentioned, there was a change in the whole structure of us. Then it comes to the last 3 years, the post-pandemic. We had to, you know, increase our efforts in the communication and campaign, because globally it was a more challenging market. The global FDI for a long while, for the first time, declined below $1 trillion level. It was like a crisis for, you know, our industry. While designing our campaign, again, we had our FDI strategy, and for the first time, this strategy was released publicly on official Gazette of Turkey. We said that we have to communicate this, you know, with the whole public opinion transparently. And after this FDI strategy, we thought that, you know, we have to develop a new campaign. So the idea of resilient come actually from the audience, because during the pandemic, we were hearing that at that time, Turkey did not stop supply chain. So all companies, you know, continued their operations, except those cafes, restaurants, and etc. I'm talking about those crucial ones for the supply chain. And our investor community was thankful, because they were comparing Turkey with the competition countries. And in many of those countries, all the factories were shut down. The logistic companies were not operating this and this, so it was a big crisis for them. And at that time, they were all saying that Turkey is a resilient country. Turkey is a resilient economy. You are able to take decisions very quickly. You are implementing them very quickly. And we were hearing a lot. And at the same time, we were running a study. In many multinational organizations, there are very successful Turks running those multinational organizations. They are at the C-suites. They are at the D level. And we were running a study among them. And we found out that, one of the interesting things, the comment was like, Turks are resilient people. I mean, they may lack some of leadership skills, but the most advantageous side of them is resilience. So when we hear more about, this resilience concept, our communication advisor recommended to start a campaign on resiliency, and we got very positive feedback, let's say. We had a kind of video. We started it on mainstream media, on those global televisions, and then we started on digital platforms, and we expanded it to different media. And then 2023 is an important year for us. Republic of Turkey was established in 1923, and it was the centennial year. We prepared a new campaign for our vision for the next century. So we said that Turkey is your common ground, but it was in line with our resiliency, let's say, theme. So we expanded it to the common ground campaign was limited to digital, and then we expanded it to the outdoor. So I will come to that point as well. And year 2024, we are about to launch a new FDI strategy. So we will fine-tune our message house, and then we will start a new campaign. Actually, I'm glad to be here with you, because we are open for your recommendations, suggestions, collaborations for our new campaign. So I would like to give you some idea of how we designed those strategies. I like the definition of resilience because when you speak about something, sometimes there are confusions about the definition. So ability to recover quickly from a shock. So I think this describes Turkey, because after all global economic crises, Turkey was having a V-shaped recovery. Turkey was among the fastest growing countries after those global shocks. I'm talking about 2008 crisis. I'm talking about 2010's early European debt crisis, or the COVID crisis. So because of that reason, we love this word. This is a 30-second version of our launch video. The original one was 1 minute. Just to make it shorter, I would like to show it to you.
A good investment is like a journey. You need a solid companion who puts in as much effort as you do. Having years of experience in investment, Turkey has what it takes to be your companion. Let's sail together. Let's reach your goals together. Turkey, your resilient partner.
So we shot this movie in Turkish Riviera. There's a place called as Göcek, for the ones who know. It's the best place for sailing in the East Med, let's say. So you are invited to experience it after this, tourism promotion. So this is country promotion and at the same time office promotion, because I don't want to be modest, because this is not my success. This is the success of whole organization since the inception. So we always have this positive feedback from the investor community, especially in Turkey. They are saying that you are our best partner within the country. Please do not forget that Turkey is an emerging economy. It is Southern or Eastern European economy. It's not like a developed market. Those companies sometimes need a kind of good companion in their activities in the country. So this was an important campaign for us. So while speaking about our activities, we also do direct marketing. We have offices in these countries, and those offices have a mandate to reach out to investors directly. Firstly, the headquarters of the existing investors in Turkey, because the majority of the FDI comes from through existing investors, through their clients, through their vendors, and etc. And they have a mandate to reach out to new target investors. Every quarter we prepare a kind of target investor list, and they have a mandate to reach out to them. They run our roadshows, they run our localized media campaigns or efforts, or social medias. So this is our international investment diplomacy network. And I spoke about the 2023. And President Erdogan has a vision for the next century. We have a kind of, growth story, as I mentioned, before, but, it can be multiplied to some different areas. The overall idea is to be among top 10 economies globally, and by 2053, we would like to be a carbon net zero carbon emission country. So these are the pillars, main pillars of our all activities or strategies in the economic field. And we call it as Türkiye century, and definitely this has an investment approach as well. So we wanted to share this again with a campaign, a digital campaign. So this is 1 minute video of our campaign focusing on, this is mute, but can we?
To the world have a common ground. Those who shape the future, those who derive their power from the digital world, those who pursue good ideas have a common ground. Those who boost their energy for a sustainable future, those who thrive, those who rise both in the sky and on the ground, those who improve their own existence. They all have a common ground. Their common ground is their partner being Türkiye. The Republic of Turkey is 100 years old. As it has been for the past century, Türkiye will continue to be the common ground for investment in the next century. Türkiye, your resilient partner.
So this campaign was started at the beginning of 2023, but unfortunately by February of 2023 we had major earthquakes in the southern part of Turkey. And I would like to thank once again to the international community for supporting us. And because of that, earthquake, we had to start it a little later than the planned. We started it in June. And again, the common ground was a kind of, having a reasoning like that. The global, unfortunately, developments are not in favor of the economic community in general, both for trade, investments, anyway. Especially, after the incident in the northern part of Turkey, the Russian invasion to Ukraine. It created a big turbulence in our region because all the supply chain was linked to those countries, in automotive, in food and beverages, in machinery, in many industries. So for the investors, this was a big challenge. And when you look at globally, the increasing conservative trade policies like the decoupling, let's say, or deglobalization, these are creating too much challenges or headaches for the investor community. And if you look at Turkey's experience in the region, we believe in the diplomacy. We are trying to find diplomatic solutions to those global challenges, and we are trying to increase the dialogue between countries. And we have been increasing our, let's say, diplomatic activity with the southern part of Turkey, like those Gulf countries. Recently, President Erdogan visited Egypt after a long while, and we have been improving our relations with the European Union and, let's say, overall western part of the world. So these political moves have some meaning for the investor community. They are pleased with those, efforts to provide a larger economic geography with stability. And this is a feedback that we get continuously, that the role of Turkey in a turbulent region is quite important for them, just for the sake of supply of, continuation of the supply chain. So the reason, or one of the motivations behind this Common Ground movie was, related to this global backdrop, unfortunately. So this was our, the start of the campaign. So we decided to, every year we organize our roadshows to countries, and we thought that in 2023 it's better to, go with this theme, the centennial of, the Republic of Turkey. We prepared a series of receptions in 16 cities. And we started in London because, if you are talking about our region, London is the place to start with. The capital is here, the investors are here. So we started in London, we had the receptions. Before the receptions, we had conferences, seminars, we participated in some global technology events. Our reception in here was during London Tech Week. We participated in London Tech Week. This year we will come again, hopefully. So this was our campaign or, roadshow or event, let's say, team for the last year. So this year again we started our events, roadshows with a new team, let's say. So we started it digital. We started having roadshows events, and we thought that it's also good to be on outdoor. In different cities we had some outdoor activities. This is the one from New York. We planned it during United Nations General Assembly Week because all the world is around there. And we planned it in New York during this event. And we had some other outdoor presence in some other cities. So another important platform for us to reach out to investor community is our website, because it is there to reach out to all information and data. We are renewing it, so again, this can be an opportunity for us to collaborate with you. Now we are having user experience, activities, and then we are gonna design it again. So we collaborate with the global media. It is important for us to reach out to our economic actors, and we value mainstream media relations, and we try to be, as much present on media as possible. So digital is having a kind of larger share, if I compare with the previous years. Every quarter we are investing a lot more to the digital because it is easier to trace, and it is easier to collect data. It's easier to do digital marketing, or targeted marketing, let's say. So we have newsletters, and we have Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram on different languages. English is the most widely used, Arabic, German, French, and we also have some locals for Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. And these are important for us because we believe the importance of the localization of such content. And we do multi-channel messaging when there are opportunities, related to Turkey. We had our first space mission, and this was an opportunity for us to, get investor attention to our campaign. We value providing data and information to the investor community. We provide lots of infographics to them about different industries. And every month we prepare a newsletter about what happened in the country, and we also try to provide them a kind of insight for the following months. And every year we prepare an annual review of what happened in Turkey related to the investment environment. And this is our FDI glossary. We saw that globally in our industry, let's say, there is a lack of glossary. So we created a kind of FDI glossary, and all the images were created by a local AI startup. We are proud of it. And this is a recent publication in partnership with the International Investor Association in Turkey. This is a milestone book for us. It's a kind of investors' testimonials, and it gives a kind of statement of the foreign direct investments in Turkey in the centennial of the Republic of Turkey. So as I said, we value giving information. So every year we create 18 reports, and for all of these contents, we distribute them digitally. We do digital marketing, targeted marketing. So these are our monthly efforts. So I talked about that. This year we also started our campaigns, roadshows, events. And for the following year, we are planning to promote Turkey with the perspective of green economy, sustainability, with the perspective of digitalization and technology, with the perspective of higher integration to the supply chain. So these are three core areas that we are focusing on. And there is plus one. We always promote talent of Turkey, because we believe that globally the largest challenge is the skill gap. In all platforms, in all companies, everybody is talking about how to close this skill gap, reskilling, upskilling, this and that. And one of the, again, most frequently feedback to us is Turkey is offering a deep, competitive talent to the global investors. So this will be our continuous effort. So this sustainability perspective is important. For the first time among our industry, IPAs, we developed the FDI scoring mechanism for our project portfolio. Nowadays, we have around 286 projects in our portfolio, and we are trying to measure them, still trying, because it will not be accurate, I think, for a long while, for none of us, to understand what are their contributions to our SDG targets, like decarbonization, or the diversity, the enrollment of the ladies to the workforce, this and that. So, and we have been sharing this with other IPAs in different global platforms, and we will continue this. This is really crucial for our country and for our organization. And as a part of our efforts for the sustainability, We have been partnering with international organizations, especially UNDP. We created some roadmaps for the investors, like the sustainable investment map in Turkey or impact investment map in Turkey, ecosystem in Turkey. And our efforts was recently awarded by UNTAD. In October 2023, we were awarded for a green energy project. It's like a gigawatt, 1 gigawatt renewable investment project. So we were quite motivated with this award as well. And I already talked about the events. So these are major platforms for us to showcase the Turkey's successes. We are targeting mainly the technology events nowadays, and for year 2024, because after the pandemic, we are seeing that there are two trends in the investment inflows to Turkey. First of all, companies are investing more and more for the export-oriented projects and supply chain-related projects, let's say. And secondly, we are getting lots of investments through startups of Turkey. So these digital companies, startup companies are, our prods. We have 7 unicorns, and we will continue to showcase this success in global technology event. And as I mentioned, we will be here, I just, selected some of them, not all of them. We will be visiting those technology events. So this is an example of what we have done in, Helsinki, in Slush. In those platforms, we promoted women entrepreneurship in Slush, so we chose this one. There is an interesting fact that out of those 7 startups, 3 of them have lady founders. 4 of them. And this ratio is not available in other countries. So in Turkey, the women entrepreneurship is ahead of many competition countries. And we wanted to share it with the investor community. And we will definitely continue to share this fact as well. So this is our vision for 2028. As I mentioned, we have prepared our FDI strategy for the next 5 years, including 2024. And we have some targets. First of all, as I mentioned, we are attracting 1% of the global FDI. And if you look at the numbers, Turkey is almost 1% of the global economy. We are representing 1% of the global population with 86 million population. Our GDP is representing 1%. Our exports is a little more than 1%, 1.1%. And for FDI, we have a target to be, to attract 1.5% of the global FDI. But more importantly, our regional approach, because we have our competition geography, and up until now we attracted 9.5% of the FDI inflows. In the following years, we would like to increase it, in the 5 years to 12%. And there are databases globally, and we track our success through those databases. There are some certain targets, but since they are not published yet on the official Gazette, I avoided putting them there. So we identified 6 pillars. So in those 6 pillars, we have some target number of projects. So these are our targets for the climate-friendly FDI, the projects related to global value chains, projects with high talent, and etc. So we prepared them. And we will provide content relying on some new technologies. There were some examples of AI. We believe that AI is contributing a lot to those efforts, and it is very fast. It is much more cost efficient, and we will continue our data-driven strategy development approach. And our idea is to up-brand the Turkey brand in the investor community. Actually, when we started back in 2006, we didn't have a communications department or marketing department within our organization. In 2020, we had a new restructuring, and we started a new dedicated department. And today, I have some of my colleagues from that department. I have my vice president for the communications activities and unit managers and etc. So when we started, it was like a support service. We were too much focused on the FDI projects, and we are all FDI practitioners. And we transferred a real communication guy from the sector, and we established a kind of new department. In our understanding, we have to communicate more, because this is a feedback that we also get from the investors. Turkey is under-communicated. There is always a perception gap. Whenever an investor comes to Turkey, they leave the country with a more positive perception. And they always say that, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't need this. So we will continue those communication efforts to close that gap, the perception gap, hopefully. So this is almost end of my presentation. So it's not moving. Okay. So yeah, we say that we are prepared for the next chapter of the investments in Turkey. So thank you for listening to me. And if there is any questions or comments, we will be around here. You can ask it now, or we can have it during the networking. Thank you. I did it in 40 minutes. I think it was okay, right?
Absolutely. Do we have any questions? There's a roving mic and things around. Perfect. Amy, then in the middle, Mariana.
Thanks. I'm Adriana from Costa Rica. I want to ask you the relation with this Invest brand with a main country brand. Do you have like an office relation with them? Is the same colors and logo and all that, and the communication strategy is related?
So in the back of this room, there's a booth for Turkey. Our Directorate of Communications is here. So for our communication activities, we are coordinating all of them with them. For example, for the new logo, because in year 2018, for example, there were 3 new offices. We were active since 2006, but 3 new offices were established directly linked to the presidency. I know we needed a corporate identity altogether, and etc. All of them were orchestrated by them. This is the corporate, let's say, identity side. Or we are having a kind of coordination platform for our all economic diplomacy activities, actually in general the nation branding office. And on the economic diplomacy field, the investment is led by us. So we are reporting or providing a feedback on a monthly basis to the that communications office through a digital platform, what we have done, what kind of campaigns we had, what kind of events we had. We are also bringing delegations, journalist delegations, and etc. So we are providing all the data to them to monitor the all efforts. So in short, yeah, we are running that Invest in Turkey brand, but the whole country communication of Turkey is led by our communications department, which is an office, again, directly reporting to the president. And by the way, Nur Hanım is with us. Maybe you can stand up. She is managing our, our nation branding office.
Hi, thank you. I think many of us will remember the Turkish Airlines advertisements. I wanted to ask how much coordination is there in between your organization and private companies?
This is a little challenging because they are private companies and they are free in their all actions. 49% of the shares belong to government, but since it's a listed company, their management is totally, let's say, liberal in this regards. But of course, there are some similarities, and we work a lot with their marketing, actually the communications team. And in many of the occasions, we collaborate. For example, we talked about these, the events, receptions. In all of them, Turkish Airlines was our partner or stakeholder, let's say. They were representing themselves here. For the communications, of course, it's not like, it's not that daily, communication. We don't know their, the next, let's say, advertisement. But in overall, again, we have some collaboration with them. So, and this is the flag carrier of our country. But there are a number of other companies, operating in other countries. So we are also utilizing them. For example, when we go to China, there are a number of successful Turkish companies, operating in China. Because in other countries, the number is huge. I gave the China like a random. And we cooperate with them to reach out to our audience, because these private sector companies are always helpful for us to explain the case of Turkey. And it is not just limited to actually those Turkish companies. In all our events platforms, we always bring some local companies and international companies to share their experience with the community. And while designing those events, campaigns, and etc., we work together. especially those testimonials work a lot because investors would like to understand what others are doing. Sometimes their competitors or sometimes companies from their countries. So but this is a much more localization effort, let's say. So. Please.
Yeah, hi, sorry, my name is Jibril. I'm from Ghana. When you showed the map where your offices were, I didn't see any office in Africa. The whole Africa, you don't have any office. Is there any reason?
Actually, this is again a kind of scientific methodology for us. The number of offices are changing throughout time, by the way. We look at the FDI resource countries for Turkey, but this is not enough because there could be new potential. And every year we analyze the countries with their FDI exporting capabilities. Unfortunately, what we see, Africa is a destination to invest in. So it's not a kind of FDI exporting continent, but of course there are examples. South Africa is one of the major investors globally. And this is a return on investment approach again. When you start an office, there is a cost. So we would like to make sure that that cost is, covered by the investment coming from that country. And even if we don't have offices in some countries, we run roadshows periodically. For example, for Latam, we do it, every 2 years. Or to some African countries, like having investment potential to abroad, we again visit them 2 to 3 years. But the majority of our activities are concentrated in Europe, in developed Asia, in Gulf countries, and United States, frankly speaking. And this is a matter of, again, a return on investment approach. Maybe it is too financial because of my background, but this is the case. Any comments? Thank you for joining us in this late afternoon event. We are grateful.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation and for answering the questions from the audience. And for our last session of the day, may I welcome David Haig, Chairman and CEO of Brand Finance, who will be in conversation with the Director of Presence Switzerland. Switzerland, perhaps unsurprisingly, comes as the #1 country in reputation and in trustworthiness in the Global Soft Power Index. And this is really what the Swiss brand is about, and it's something that we want to discuss on stage today between Alexandre and David, if I may ask you to join us here shortly.
So, is it working? Yes, good. Well, it's been a very long day. I'm pleased to see that the room is still full. I hope you're energized for this discussion. I was just mulling over the shape of the day and thinking about the fact that the first session I was involved with was with DG Dorji from Bhutan, which is a small, mountainous, beautiful country, very hard to get to in the middle of Asia. And here we are ending the day with another country that is small, beautiful, very hard to get to. Certainly at Davos, it's very hard to walk around in the middle of Europe. But the contrast couldn't really be greater in many ways economically. Obviously, Switzerland is one of the most successful countries in the world. Bhutan is on the path, and maybe one day it will be. But I was thinking there are tremendous parallels there. And maybe we can come back to that later on when we're chatting. But what I thought I would do is, just as a preamble to our discussion, I would actually go to the Brand Finance dashboard. I don't know whether you've all been and looked at the dashboard, but the dashboard, which is on the computer just on the right-hand side there, holds the data which is being technically released tomorrow. So it is, we're scooping ourselves. The actual release is tonight at midnight, but the data is on that system. So the data that I'm now going to show you is actually not released. It's brand new, up-to-date data. And I thought what I would do is go through the attributes that Switzerland, so if you bear with me for a moment. I won't go through all of them, but what I wanted to do was look at the things that Switzerland has scored particularly well on, and the ones where it's not doing quite so well, and then make that the beginning of our conversation, if that's all right with you.
I feel like a high school student getting reviewed.
Naughty boy, right. So if I look at the scores and what's happened in the last year, I'll start with the pillars, the attributes for which, under each of the 7 pillars, there are 5 questions or so. And I'll just pick out the ones that are highlights. So, for example, under business and trade, Switzerland is number 2. It's right up there at the top. Where it comes to culture and heritage, it comes number 1 as a great place to visit. And also for an appealing lifestyle, comes number 1. Where you look at governance, politically stable and safe and secure, it comes out number 1. And where you look at high ethical standards, I don't know what happened, but last year it was number 1 and this year it's number 2. So I'm not quite sure who's more ethical than you this year. Good relations with other countries, it comes out number 1. Trustworthy, under media and communications, it's trustworthy media, that is, it's number 3. And then where it comes to overall trustworthy as a country and the people are regarded as trustworthy, they also come number 1. So a tremendous lineup of things where Switzerland is doing extremely well. And then finally, the new category we've been asking is about sustainability, where Switzerland comes number 2 again. So some extremely good scores. Overall, Switzerland has a very high reputation. In fact, it has the highest reputation of any country. Okay, so that's all the good stuff. So when you then look at the not quite so good stuff, on the economy, it comes quite low on future growth potential. This is the perception, whether it's the reality. The perception in the world is that Switzerland has a very low growth projection. And when it comes to culture and heritage, influential in arts and entertainment and food the world loves, I'm afraid it's sort of, certainly where food the world loves, it's vying with us, not as popular. Down in the 20s, leaders in sports, despite Roger Federer's efforts, it comes number 40. And probably the most insulting and annoying result from the rest of the world is that where it comes to fun, Switzerland comes number 44, which is 1 place lower than last year. So overall, pretty good. Well done, good scorecard. But there are 1 or 2 things that it's like, improve your maths. So I just want to start that by going, what are the things you think that Switzerland could do to overall improve some of those things? Or do you think it doesn't matter?
Good evening. Best introduction ever. It's a good question. Do we need to improve in all these fields? It's a real question. I want to be provocative. I'm saying in these days, boring might be the new sexy. And there we're very high. And we have a high potential of growth. Indeed, if you're 20 years old and you're living in London, if you're asking yourself, or not even in London, if you ask yourself, any country in the world, if you're 20 years old and saying, where should we have fun this weekend? Switzerland might not be on the top 3. Not even the top 10. But 44 is not that bad. Rank on 60, not a bad thing. But it's unfair because you can really have fun in Switzerland. But of course, we are a stable, old democracy in the middle of Europe. You can have stronger promises from outside about having fun. Nowadays, what do you need? If you're talking about attracting talents, if you want to grow a family in a country, do you prefer to be in a safe country like Switzerland? Mm-hmm. Or you want to be in much funnier places that might be not as stable? And we all need, I think fun is good.
Yeah.
We all need that. This is what happens before to pass away. So that makes a real difference. When I was listening to my dear colleague from New Zealand, certainly, if you're 20 years old, you think New Zealand might be more appealing than Switzerland. You're not dreaming of Switzerland. That's reality. When we look at the perception we have, it might be unfair because I think we have many things to offer. But nonetheless, perception-wise, this is, if you're 20 years old and you're dreaming about Switzerland, you might have bigger dreams. But if you're 25 years old, you want to launch a startup in a stable country where it's full of opportunities, then suddenly what appears boring when you're 20 or 15 years old becomes something much more appealing. But I don't think you can have it all.
But it's interesting that, I mean, we're talking about perceptions with our study. That's not necessarily reality. And we see that across a whole range of different attributes, where there is a difference between what people think about you and what is the reality. And that is particularly true where it comes to sustainability. And in fact, we're just launching a report next week, which shows the gap between performance or perceptions and performance where it comes to sustainability. And we talk about that as a sustainability gap. So if people think you are much better than you really are, there's a danger that when they find out, your reputation drops and then you lose business, whether you're a brand or a country, and vice versa. If you are much better than people think you are, you're missing out on opportunity. Now that principle applies to every attribute. And from my experience, I think a lot of those comments are those views, those perceptions are very unfair. I mean, Switzerland does actually have quite a lot of sporting activity. It has quite a lot of artistic and cultural activity, but it's not really getting across, do you think?
When I was listening to the colleagues talking about great campaign, we don't have the Spice Girls yet. So of course, we have leading brands in the field of culture. If you're taking Montreux Jazz Festival, Art Basel, there are references worldwide in the field of music, contemporary art, and many other topics. We are one of the country where people, 75% of Swiss people are having physical activities to the middle to high level every week. So it is globally within Europe something special. But when we're talking about ambassadors, I was doing the exercise for me comparing to great. And when you look at it, you have rock stars that are world famous. We don't have that. I mean, we have many great musicians, we have many great institutions, but the emotional part of it, Roger was an exception because Roger is too strong for Switzerland. That's the thing. When Roger Federer arrives to anywhere in the world, people are looking at Roger Federer. They're not connecting him to Switzerland. Even if he's a great ambassador for Switzerland, because there's some Swiss values behind that. He's stable, you can trust him, efficiency is high, he's polite, that kind of things. Some Swiss values behind that, the quality is there. He's Swiss-made, and to be fair, half South African-made, to be fair to his two countries. But nonetheless, the impact we measured from him about Switzerland is pretty low, because he's too big for us. And that's the thing, we are a country where it's also the part of culture of Switzerland, we are a community more than individuals. In that sense, we are not even missing, but of course, when you want rock stars, when you want Spice Girls, when you want all that, we don't have James Bond in Switzerland. Nobody's expecting to have popular icons coming from Switzerland, but Heidi versus James Bond. Actually, she might be more sympathetic and maybe a good asset for Switzerland, but nonetheless, this is not, I mean, the only presence we have in the pop culture is usually in the Hollywood movies where the bad guys are hiding money in Switzerland.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it means that the clever bad guys, they know that the money is safe in Switzerland, so it's not as bad as you could think it is. But nonetheless, when you look at it, I mean, the pop culture has a strong impact on perception. And on that field, we might be not the country with the biggest, let's say, stock of pop icons.
I mean, I think my perception is that if you go to Finland, Finnish people tend to be very, very reluctant to stand out from the crowd. And in fact, when you go to a presentation like this, I've done lots of them in Finland, you do a presentation, you try to be controversial in the hope that people put their hand up and say, that's rubbish. And if you do that in Israel, the whole audience will put their hand up and say, that's rubbish. Whereas in Finland, no one will, because nobody really wants to speak out, because they're very, very shy. And in Australia, they have this thing called the tall poppy syndrome, where, like if you stick your head up, everyone thinks you're an idiot. So people tend not to want to stand out. I mean, it seems a bit similar in Switzerland, but even where there are outperformers, they're quite happy to keep below the parapet. I mean, Switzerland has got plenty of sports it does well in, plenty of successful people, but they tend not to promote themselves. I mean, is that a thing that the country should regret? Like here, when people are good, they brag like mad, and in America, they're in your face. I mean, do you want to be more in your face?
That's a good question. I'm being the nation brander, so leading the agency of nation branding. So it's difficult because sometimes you want to brag about stuff. And people, usually politicians, members of government say, I mean, we ranked number one for the 13 years in a row as the most innovative country in the world. We should buy some ads in the airport and saying, hey, we're the best one in the world, but he's not Swiss. We deeply believe in the value of work. Work first, talk about it later. And if the work is well done, we think people will see it. When you look at the results, that might be the case. But it's not being shy. It's also let the people talk while we're working, and we see at the end, we'll get the prize. It's not arrogant. It might be understand sometimes like that, but it's much more, it's not the culture. And I mean, to change the DNA of Swiss people becoming suddenly like other countries, I mean, if you're asking some people of perception of the US, with the respect due to them, or the French. Let's take the French, as we're in London. I mean, take the French. They're bragging all over about many things. And the Brits love to hate the French, like any other country. And I mean, it's a great country, but one of the downsides of France is the fact that, when they, for once, win a World Cup, they talk about it for 20 years. And this is, for us, as Swiss people, it's a bit like, win the second one, and then we can talk about it. Nothing about that.
In our case, it's like 70 years since we last won.
But every
we
time,
invented it, but we
have
haven't won
favorite every time. This is your years.
Yeah.
Until the next one.
Yeah, I think so. That's what they always say. So I think one of the things I wanted to talk about was that Switzerland is a very unusual country in the fact that it's like 4 quite different language and cultural groups that have all come together as one. I mean, how do you think that's affected the way that Switzerland presents itself? And is that why you have neutrality, and is that why people tend not to be particularly controversial, because they want to have a coherent society?
Good question. I was thinking about the languages earlier when New Zealand presented. I wanted to make the same introduction in Swiss-German. It could have exactly the same effect, but I will protect you from that. Now, being geographically in the middle of Europe, anywhere if you travel from Switzerland, wherever you are in, 2 hours later you're abroad. It forces us to be open. I mean, 50% of Swiss GDP is coming from abroad. It's not only that we're very open for it by nature, it's just the fact is Switzerland is a middle-sized country. Size doesn't always matter. The fact is that we're there. It means that we have to go out and we are connected to different cultures all over Europe. We have Germany, Austria, Italy, Liechtenstein, France, all around us. So we have different culture, different history. We've been already being in the center of that continent doesn't make us the center of the world, but within the continent, it's something that forces it to be open. And then having these 4 cultures, it's very different. If you take the French, in France they have the dream of the nation state with one common history, religion, culture, language, and so on. Switzerland is the perfect opposite of that. It might be that we hate each other less than we hate the others. This is a perfectly undiplomatic way of saying it, but Switzerland started as a FTA. The birth of Switzerland 800 years ago, 1291, depending on legend, was a free trade and security agreement between different states. It didn't start as a dream of it was building up on a safe space for a community and extended to the point of the birth of the Swiss modern state, 1848. It was people that, again, from FTA, so free trade agreement, to a country with a government, from a confederation to a federal state, based mainly on so very mirroring the US Constitution, also the US political system as a federal state. So it means it's a pragmatical approach. We are stronger together, and the fact that we're coming from different backgrounds with different languages, it forces us to listen to the others. If you're going, it's weird, when you're in Bern, the capital of the country, if you don't know yet, it's not Geneva and Zurich, it's Bern. We define Bern because it's central, it was big enough to welcome the state, it's central, it was not Zurich and Geneva or Basel. It was a decision, very pragmatical decision. It was not about being the biggest city, it was being about a city that respects the others. But when you go into meetings, we usually have meetings 2 or 3 different languages. I do speak in French, my colleagues answer to me in German. For European people, it's a wonder. Once I've been talking to friends coming from Africa, and also someone from India that told me, we have 200 official languages, so with you 4 official languages, you're nothing special to us. But in the middle of Europe, it's rare to have that, and the fact that we have to listen because we don't have the same languages, not always the same culture, it makes something solution-oriented. We're not bragging also because we're not as good as the Germans in German, as the French in French, but in Italian. I shouldn't say that to my colleagues in different languages, but we have a good language, but not as spectacular as the neighbor country. So it forces us to be more solution-oriented. That might explain some of the...
But do you think the fact that you have these quite strong cultural groups and they're all fairly equal is one of the reasons why Switzerland tends to be non-controversial, and that's helped in global politics?
It's not equal at all. The German-speaking one is 65% of the population. Actually, what makes Switzerland different is that we vote 4 times a year on the federal level on different topics, coming from regulation about cows till nuclear energy, up to opportunities to global alliances. So it's a very, very diverse regular political discussion, which is controversial. At the moment we're voting, so on Sunday we have a vote about the pensions. Should we have a 13 months for the pension in Switzerland or not? Very controversial, highly so. But we do accept to lose. That's the difference. You might have had an experience about a referendum in the past years in the UK. I wouldn't have started with that topic. I mean, not commenting on the results, but the fact Switzerland, since you were a child at home, people are discussing these topics, and you accept that you don't win every time you vote. Nonetheless, you stay within that community that is Switzerland. So you accept that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And that's something that's very special. And again, the Swiss Germans, the German-speaking part of Switzerland, they are the majority. They are 65% of population. If they wanted, they could take it all. Actually, they're not. And it's the ground of the constitution that says, okay, the majority accepted to give up a bit of the power in order to keep Switzerland together. Mm-hmm. That fact of, again, pragmatism and saying, okay, it's not about winning, it's about winning together. That might be one of the biggest differences. And actually, we have to say, like in other countryside and urban center might be more relevant in some topics than the language. If you have Zurich and Geneva, they have common interests in direct investment. That smaller or more alpine regions of Switzerland have different interests.
So you actually spoiled one of my questions by telling everyone what the capital was, because I was going to do a pub quiz. You know, the first question was, what is the capital of Switzerland? I bet you no one would have known. Second question, who's the president of Switzerland? Does anybody know? Who's the prime minister of Switzerland? Trick question, they don't have one. And I always find it amusing that absolutely no one knows who leads Switzerland in that sense. It's one of those places where, you know, like you couldn't fail to notice who the candidates are for the American presidential election, dare I say it. And in most countries, it's a bit like that. You get these flamboyant characters, whereas Switzerland seems to almost value total non-flamboyancy, wouldn't you say?
So, first of all, if you ask Swiss citizens who's the president this year, 50% of my fellow citizens might not know. So it's not only about you. This is when I have people applying, working for us, this is a question I'm asking. And no joke, a few weeks ago, 2 out of 3 candidates couldn't name the president. I won't tell you who out of the 3 I engaged, but I hired, but nonetheless, this is the system of Switzerland. So we have a government made of 7 ministers. In the other countries, you have many more. And you have 1 minister, for instance, in charge of innovation, agriculture, economy, and some other stuff. 1 ministry. And then you have Secretary of State down under. But then we have 4 parties, so the 4 leading parties of Switzerland are represented within the government, mirroring the parliament. And this is a national union government, if you may say, since 1848. It has been changing, evolving. At first, it was only 1 party, and the current situation is stable since the last 15 years. But it's not about the people. And the ministers are elected from the parliament, representing the parties. They're not the experts. They are the political leaders governing together. Actually, every year we have a new president. So it's a rotation system. Every year you have someone new. But nonetheless, when we have a state visit to Switzerland, the 7 of them have to be there because they are the government together. There is a primus inter pares principle for the president, but nonetheless the government is one. Again, it's always coming back to that DNA of Switzerland, which is we're together, stronger together. And indeed, you might know the two candidates for the US election. I'm not sure this is an asset.
No, I agree. I mean, the interesting thing is that although the governmental process is probably not known to most people, and neither are the candidates, Switzerland has been notably successful at coming up with policies that make a successful country. And the one that I'd like to talk about is the extensive legislation to protect the Swiss brand, where, to my understanding, it is the first country by a mile, years ago, creating legislation to protect Swissness, and is now vociferous in every industry to do that. I mean, would you like to comment on that legislation, and what do you think about it?
It was a challenge because some of the better-known products coming from Switzerland, take chocolate, chances to find cocoa nuts in Switzerland are pretty low. So how do you define that one of the key products of Switzerland, chocolate, symbolically, not from a GDP perspective? How can we talk about Swiss-made when 80% of the ingredients are not produced in Switzerland? So they are part of the challenges. Watch is the same. You cannot find gold in Switzerland, not yet, or not anymore. Nonetheless, watch industry, we're talking about billions in export every year, and this is one of the iconic products from Switzerland. But nonetheless, as the brand is strong, as you mentioned it, from brand value perspective, it used to be the second most important brand in the world. If you have the Swiss made or the Swiss label on a product, that might increase. The country of origin effect is very strong, depending on the topics. But most really, if you're a doctor and you are willing to buy some medical material, having a Swiss-made one might have a positive impact. Talking about watches, this is a study that happened some years ago. In Japan, for instance, a Swiss watch, people are willing to pay 100% more if it's a Swiss-made watch compared to another watch, giving exactly the same time. And your phone most will give a better, more precise time, the Swiss watch. It's not about that. Having that Swiss brand effect is very strong. And back in 2013, that law, the Swissness law, has been voted in order to protect the Swiss flag and to protect the armories of Switzerland, what can be used and what cannot be used. And what is interesting is that if you compare, taking France, Champagne, they're protecting the brand with a very aggressive strategy. Not saying that badly or positively, but they invest billions every year to protect it. Switzerland doesn't. What we do is that's the law, so Swiss companies, it's defined what they can use, what they cannot use. There are Swiss companies that some of the products are Swiss-made, and then they use flags. Other products are not produced in Switzerland anymore, and they're not using it, and some are playing with some definition of it's Swiss-engineered or Swiss-made and so on. But nonetheless, there is no proactive politics from the government of attacking people, legally attacking people, but more to discuss with federation, with unions, if we identified something as not fair or not respecting the Swiss law. First of all, the embassies worldwide are working on that, getting in touch with companies, and the results are pretty decent without having a full brand policy or brand army coming from Switzerland.
I mean, as brand finance, we've had experience of this because we did a project out in Philippines where a well-known Swiss chocolate maker had set up a factory and were making chocolate out there, which they billed as Swiss chocolate, and were roundly sued by the Swiss government, take it off, and rather than make it without putting Swiss on, they shut the factory down. And it was a very big factory. And we knew, because we were working for the other side who were buying the factory, the economic impact of the legislation, I think, is extremely high and extremely impressive, actually. I'm sure it secures a lot of revenue for Switzerland that it should. And I think you missed the great campaign.
No, I was there.
Oh, you were there? Okay. I mean, I suppose the question really is, should we learn something from Switzerland here and have legislation to say it's got to be British made if we say British? Because, take, for example, mini cars. If you look at them, well, I suppose they're made here, but in many respects they're German because they're owned by BMW. And the same sort of thing is true with Rolls-Royce. They are no longer really British. Should we be doing the same as you?
It's a good question. Some of the Swiss companies are not Swiss anymore. It depends how you define Swissness or Britishness. Is it being produced here? Is it being produced abroad by a British company? What matters at the end, in the Swiss made, also in the Swissness, low. What matters is where it's produced. So actually, if Rolls-Royce belong to an Indian company or to a British one, it might hurt your ego for different reasons. But nonetheless, the question is, where is the value produced?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I don't see any compromise. But then it's a challenge. It's easier for Switzerland because we have less iconic products, or let's say compared to, I mean, for UK it might be more challenges because the history is very different. The concentration in Switzerland, and we are, compared to other European countries, we still have a very high level of industry in Switzerland. It's about 30% of the GDP is still produced. So we kept that. I think I know it's a challenge here, it's a discussion over Europe, but the fact of having steel production capacities within the country is also a strong support for that law. I'm not sure you could copy-paste it directly for the UK, but the value of the UK brand remains also very attractive. I mean, foreign perspective, I think the value is there, and great is, I must say, one of the most successful campaign when you look at it from outside. I mean, the consistency of the messaging, I mean, it's very easy. Great, it sounds easy, but how you could aggregate it and how the colleagues have been building up the brand, I think it's very impressive. We don't have that yet. I was wondering how we should actually be inspired by great rather than the opposite.
Yes, well, actually, I was going to come on to that because, I've been picking on you with lots of questions. I suppose the key question is, in your role, what are the key challenges and, how are things going to develop over the next 5 years?
I think actually, nation building as itself, the question of soft power, we have the same question as any of you. I mean, where is the world going to be in 5 years from now? Where's the balance between soft and hard power? That's something that's the biggest challenge for all of us. Redefining, and also I think for Europe, to me one of the challenges is how do we define or redefine competition between countries? We're part of an alliance with New Zealand, with Finland, about the small advanced economies. We have common interests. We have common interests of different people. How do we work more closely together? I think also on a diplomatical level. When we have project in Japan at the moment, so World Expo is going to be in Japan, but so other projects. And then in Japan, the challenge is, do we keep people coming to Europe, or do we convince investors that they should invest in Europe, or in the US or another part of the world? So going alone as Swiss government there, without talking with Austria or German or UK, that kind of stuff. If we're not teaming up with other countries, depending on the topics, depending on the interests, we might face a challenge. And one of the challenges, listening to all presentation of today, we're all coming on stage and telling you how good we are. And we all have the same narrative of the best country, most innovative. We do all care about the others, but we spend a lot of money to tell that we care more than the others. We do all of that, and this is part of the game, but I think we're to a point where we have to reinvent what it means, because the credibility of the messaging, if we keep on doing the same. Just to give you an example, we had a communication company in Texas working there. We've been benchmarking the five countries investing the most in Texas, presenting them so it's innovative. You take a benchmark, you have 5 countries, most of them Europeans. 4 out of 5 of the key messages for all of them were exactly the same. So then it's a graphic design challenge, but I'm not sure this is the real challenge we have, is how do we better define? We all want to have innovation with purpose.
Right.
When that kind of thing, it's part of the challenge of daily business is how do we define what we are, how different are we, what is our story, but not from a marketing perspective, what is really the story we have, on one hand, and on the other hand, as a Swiss is a very decentralized country, we wouldn't have the top-down great campaign. This is not, Swiss government is not going to decide from a day of another, say, hey, from now on we all take Swiss-made as a campaign. So we have to team up with the different parts, but I'm jealous of the colleagues. When I look the organization of New Zealand story, where you have business, tourism, student, all under one roof. In Switzerland, for that, we have 5 or 6 organizations. Tourism is one thing, other brand. We have a global brand for the government abroad, but the brand for the government internally is not the same. Then you have another thing for business, for invest. So it's a team that is not structured the same way than the other.
So should we expect anytime soon that there's going to be a similar campaign to Great, but coming from Switzerland? Because if so, I can imagine it'd be rather good.
I would love to have a discussion about that with all of you, to see what you think about it. Again, it won't be the same because we are organized differently, but we have reflection in the moment. And what should we do? I think the tech seems to be one of the hot topics at the moment. We're all competing for talents, competing for VCs, all competing for that. So at least in that field, it might be more field-specific or topic-specific campaigning than a global overarching campaigning. That might be a bit too high for us at the moment.
Okay, so one final question from me, and then I'll let the audience ask a few questions. Can we have the roving mic to get the questions? In the presentation this morning, we heard about this thing called SDF, which is Sustainability Development Fund. I don't know if you've heard of that, but everyone who goes to Bhutan has to pay $200 to get in per night. Are you considering introducing that in Switzerland?
Not yet, but
That might be something you could take out of the Bhutan book. That would be a good one.
I think it's very impressive. I mean, if you look at the Bhutan and not being populist or just making a easy chat, I think it's fascinating to see how the country was able to reinvent something. I think it's a challenge. I wouldn't say it's easy. It might have been easier because they were starting from a brand perspective, less expectant than we are, but the capacity of reinventing that and connecting communication activities with reality, it's also a challenge. It's not only bragging about something, but it has a deep impact on how the country sees itself and how policies have been connected to marketing. I think it's very impressive the way it has been.
Well, I must say the gross domestic happiness index is a pretty good thing. I mean, it sounds like you should probably adopt that to turn everybody into happy, fun people, and then it would accelerate what you've already got. But the fact is that in those measures that I mentioned, great place to visit, you come first, which would sort of suggest that if you charged $500, people would still be paying it. So there might be an idea there, and you can pay me for that one later.
I think the hotel in Switzerland are charging enough that we don't need an extra.
Yeah, that's true.
to do it.
So rather than all the questions coming from me, I'm quite happy to open it to the floor. I think we've got about 5 or 10 minutes. Question one. Is that okay?
Okay,
So,
thank
yeah,
you. Thank you very much for your presentation, Alexandre. And David, I think that you are head of AI. Is it your new title?
I'm head of Presidency Switzerland ad interim. This is
Oh,
the AI.
okay,
It has nothing to
okay.
do with my intelligence, unfortunately.
Okay, because I was going to ask what's your perspective and how you wanted to
Also,
integrate AI with what you're doing.
I can nonetheless answer to that. Now, from a brand perspective, it's interesting. Switzerland has been investing in AI for the last 40 years. We have, even more, but the universities in Switzerland have been leaders in that field, and we're a moment where AI exploded the last few months, as all of us have seen it. And the challenge is, how do we reconnect Switzerland that has fact, it's not perception. We have strong research in the field of AI as well as in the field of quantum computing. And how do we keep that leadership position in a moment where everybody's talking a lot about AI, and suddenly nobody's connecting Switzerland with AI at the moment. Of course, ChatGPT is not based in Switzerland, but some of the texts used in AI are coming from Switzerland. The AI from Google has been developed partially in Zurich. So there's many facts, and how do we reconnect it to that? And then on the more operational use of AI in our job, it's like any other communication agency. I think we're all facing, I don't know what, I'm writing a book for my boy, and I'm using AI to create the drawings. I think it's fascinating. But after a few weeks doing it, I think that the imagery of AI is pretty similar. So it's like a loop. So within the next 5 months, we're all going to work with AI. We're going to all have the same campaigning style. This is a challenge, is how do we learn to work with AI in order not to be all similar? Because we'd come back to the challenge we had, how do we differentiate ourselves? And AI is a big challenge in that field. I think we have to learn about it. Canva is great, but you see it open up the things, and I think graphic design is still a job, and publicist is still a job. And I think AI can be useful for all of us as long as we know which question to ask. So it doesn't replace intelligence. So that's in its own daily.
Two more questions. Would you like?
David started with listing the things that Switzerland is going very good at and maybe less good at as far as perception. And so my question for you would be, from your point of view, maybe not as much from research, what do you think is some parts of perception of Switzerland that would be a focus for you to work on, or is there even an area that you would like to improve the perception of, and would be the focus of your work going forward?
As we're working for the new, so we're defining now the new strategy for the next 4 years from the government in that field. It's pretty similar to what has been presented from New Zealand. So we have to, where we're good, we have to keep that level, and where we're less good, we have to improve. On the good side, so innovation remains something key for us, talking about foreign direct investment, talent attraction, and so on. So the gap between the perception of Switzerland in the field of innovation and reality is too big at the moment. We are better than people think we are. So this is a positive investment. On the other side, there's a downside in Europe at the moment linked to Ukrainian war. And Switzerland is not seen as generous as it should be. Especially, and not only generous, it's also neutrality of Switzerland is under pressure because people think we should send weapons to Ukraine, and neutrality politics in Switzerland at the moment doesn't allow it. This is an ongoing discussion, but it has, within the neighbors country, maybe France, Germany especially, we have a down in the perception of Switzerland at the moment due to consistency criticism within the media about the fact that Switzerland is not exporting weapons to Ukraine, even if nonetheless we are in strong position for demining the country, even if we are working on organizing a peace conference about it. We are acknowledged by Ukraine as a strong partner, but in the perception in some countries in Europe, this is actually where we have a pressure at the moment, where we have to better explain what Switzerland does in that context, including sanction again. Russia.
One final question. Does anyone have a final question? Okay. Oh, DG Georgie. How appropriate.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's not a question. I think, David, when you started this conversation, you made a reference to Bhutan and some kind of comparison. And I totally agree that there's a big difference, actually, between Switzerland and Bhutan. But having said this, I don't know whether some of us here heard that very often in the past, Bhutan has been compared, or as a rather level as a Switzerland of Asia. That has been said quite popularly, but I don't hear the participants here whether you know about this. Now, taking advantage of that, I think earlier I also mentioned that in Bhutan, now we have also launched this a new bank, a digital bank called by the name of Oro Bank, and this is supposed to be the first full reserve bank in South Asia. And my question, actually maybe not really a question, but your view is now even in that banking sector, finance sector, in that new Gulf city, we are actually trying to establish a world kind of a class financial center as a hub. So like which, I mean, we know that Switzerland is one already. So basically we are now trying to also move towards or looking up to Switzerland as a model. So I just wanted to request, I mean, what would be your advice? I mean, this is something that we want to aspire to be. Even as in the financial sector, we want this Gulf city to be a financial hub, just like what Switzerland is. Just your comment on that.
So first comment is, it's good for you, but don't become too good. We have enough competitors at the moment on financial centers. But more seriously, I think technology has allowed different financial centers to develop. The blockchain technology, so many things happening in the financial centers and financial industry at the moment, which is good that other countries are coming and joining that. I think where Switzerland has a role to play is, of course, we have banks, one less since last spring, but nonetheless, we're still a strong financial center, a key player, especially in wealth management. But we're also investing more and more in the field of banking engineering for sustainable finance. I think redefining what is the purpose, talking about purpose earlier, what is the purpose of finance is a strong challenge. We won't have sustainability without innovation and finance. So how can Switzerland position itself as in the know-how of creating engineered-based solutions for sustainable finance? This is something where we could not compete, but work together on to reach these goals that I think we're not reaching at the moment. So a common challenge, how can we as nation building being part of the Sustainable Development Goals reach rather than competing with forgetting it at the moment. So I think there Switzerland might play a role as with the know-how in the sustainable finance.
I mean, I would have a comment about that, which is that if you look at the stats for Switzerland, it comes first in terms of trustworthiness. Trust is fundamental to financial services, and that obviously is why Switzerland has managed to develop itself as a financial centre. Everyone knows you can trust Switzerland to look after your money. I don't know what the score is for Bhutan, but it's probably not as well known, and even though it may be trustworthy, people may not know it's trustworthy or think it's trustworthy. So focus in on that one metric. If everyone believes Bhutan is as trustworthy as Switzerland, your financial services industry might succeed. So with that, I'll say thank you very much. That was a great discussion. Thank you very much. We're now going to do a small award ceremony, and then you're probably gagging for a drink, so we'll keep it short, and then we'll enjoy the Moldovan wine with a toast to the award winners. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. Don't go too far away from the stage because Switzerland is nominated in some of the categories. Ladies and gentlemen, like David said, we're now going to proceed with our awards ceremony, the Global Soft Power Awards, given out for the first time at the Global Soft Power Summit, and given out for the first time because they come directly from our research, from a new question that we added to the survey this year. We're asking all of our respondents, the 170,000 of them in 100 markets all around the world, to whether they would recommend the 193 countries in the study as a place to invest in, to work in, to study in, to visit, and to buy products and services from. And these are the categories that we're going to be giving out the awards for. So as with everything in our study, there is no brand finance judgment in that. The awards are entirely objective, and they come straight from the data that we've gathered from our respondents around the world in the Global Soft Power Index survey. So without further ado, David, if you would like to come up here to the lectern, the awards are waiting here at the back. And shall we play the first video?
Surprise.
Thank you. Should I thank my family and so on?
Yes,
No,
I think you
kidding.
should, yeah.
Thank you very
You can cry as well if you like. And the next category is... ambassador for Germany was going to come, but he's had a family emergency. So Josem is going to collect the award on his behalf. What's that? Oh, yes, of course, he's a German citizen. I forgot to mention that fact. So he's collecting it for his country. Okay, next one. Congratulations.
It's interesting because we haven't done the job.
Oh, I think it's
It
pretty
just
good.
reflects Switzerland.
People think you've done the
I
job.
accept it in the name of it, but thank you very much.
Thank you. And the next one is to study in. So our food may be disgusting, but people like studying here. So. Okay, and now the best country to visit. Congratulations. Clearly, Where to visit is a very hotly contested category. It's very close, but Italy came in first, and I'm sure it's something to do with the wonderful food. Every year, Italy gets the top score as the country with the best food, and you had some of it earlier on. I hope you all enjoyed the food you had earlier on. I enjoyed it, and I'd now like to present you with your award. Can you manage to get up? Switch the order. Do you want to say hello to your mother?
No, just saying that it's been a privilege to receive this award. I share with all the people from the Italian Embassy. I'm Giovanni Sacchi, the Italian Trade Commissioner. We deal with the promotion of Italian products and Italian industry, and as well as a whole. So we're very happy that we can share this with all our colleagues and also with the team of Brand. Thank you very much.
For those of you who have won these awards, by the way, we have nice little presentation boxes that we'll give you afterwards, so you don't have to carry the thing on its own. And the last category is, second to last category is the absolute global soft power leader. Joe Biden couldn't be with us tonight, and Lawrence Newell is here as his representative.
Thank you, David.
Where's the camera?
2024 is going to be a big one. Thank you.
It'll be Donald Trump next year.
Yeah, watch that governance score. It's going to be hot.
Okay, and there is one last category, which is actually a presentation to Giannina for one of her students who wrote the best paper on a subject to do with soft power.
Thanks, David. Just me standing between this and drinks. So really appreciate Brand Finance's support for the master's degree in place branding, as we mentioned this morning. And I'm really pleased to award this to a student who actually graduated from Middlesex's BA Advertising, PR and Branding, where he was introduced to place branding in my third year module, where he did an absolute banger of a presentation on Zanzibar. And now he is studying the master's in place branding, and he's come all the way from Mauritius to join us today. He did an absolutely incredible place brand strategy for the very small, intimate island of Rodrigues. So I'm really pleased to say thank you and congratulations to Mohamed Abbaspira to accept this award for the best place brand strategy.
So I'll hand to Conrad to introduce the wine.
Thank you all. Congratulations to all the winners. Before we launch into the wine reception, just a short presentation about the wine that we will have the pleasure to taste tonight. Welcome Christian Gaffin from Wine of Moldova Castelmimi Winery.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak from this stage. Also, I would like to thank you for introducing Moldova for the first time in history in the Soft Power Index study. It's again, we are somewhere in the middle, so it gives us clear data where we are and what needs to be improved. So definitely we will keep in mind the valuable data that has been offered us today. Of course, me as an export manager for Castle Mimi, this is the winery I represent. Basically, I also have to do with collecting data in order to improve, the brand image and also to improve the country image as well. Because again, as an export manager, when I or my colleagues opened a new market, we also opened the door, even though it's a small crack, for other wineries to follow from Moldova. So definitely it's a team effort in order to promote the country. This winery here, by the way, is the first winery chateau of Moldova, being established in 1893, so long history. And it's also included in top 15 most beautiful wineries in the world. So definitely it's worth a visit. Again, the thing is that during my travels as a salesperson, I often have encountered that people are surprised that this is in Moldova. So I definitely feel that there's some misconceptions and some stereotypes what Moldova is and what Moldova should look like. So I would like to answer this eternal question, what Moldova is exactly, at least from our perspective as Moldovans. So definitely, I've done a survey with my friends, family, and colleagues and asked them what Moldova is about, and most of the answers fall in these 4 categories. So Moldova definitely is about its people that are quite friendly, they are welcoming people. In case you come to a Moldovan household without prior notice that happens in our country, you can be sure that you will be welcomed with the best food and drinks. Even though that's the last things they have in the fridge, you'll be sure you'll have a warm welcoming. Moldovans are traditional people. They have very beautiful traditions that we are always happy to share. And for example, if you'll ever be attending a Moldovan wedding, you'll never forget that wedding because there's so many different rituals involved in the process. Moldova, of course, it's about its landscapes, beautiful nature, again, rich soil that, again, it's one of the richest soils in the world. 75% is covered with chornozem. It's a dark soil that makes, again, the foods, the fruit, the vegetables taste very authentic. So definitely we are grateful for the piece of land we have. And of course, the countryside is the place where you should discover the authentic Moldova. For example, on the picture, you can see a church there near Reut in the river in Butuceni. Basically, it's one of the villages included in the UNESCO heritage. So definitely, it's worth a visit. And of course, we're about food. Food is an important part of our culture. For example, the soup you see on the picture, that's called zama. It's a chicken noodle soup. Basically, that finished third in the list of the best soups you can try in the world. And last but not least, wine. Wine is very important for Moldovans. It's almost a part of our DNA. As again, wine, it's been made for about 6,000 years in the region of Moldova. And again, I guess you'll never find a Moldovan that doesn't have someone in their families who makes wines. I mean, people, besides having a strong wine industry, they also make their own homemade wine. That's the matter why only 20% of all the wines produced in Moldova are consumed locally, and about 80% are exported, because we also make our own homemade wine. But let's see where Moldova stands in the world of winemaking. I have here a lot of graphics, but still valuable information. This is to give you context before the wine tasting, because I don't want you, to try the wines without no information at all. This gives you perspective and some context in order to appreciate the wines. So yeah, Moldova, it's basically 20th in the world as a volume producer. 1.4 million hectoliters are produced in the country. 7% of the territory is covered with agriculture fields. So Moldova still it's an agriculture-based economy, but a developing one. Again, 3% of the territories of those, again, of all the territory is covered with vineyards. So basically, again, it shows you how important the winemaking is in our country, and it makes Moldova the country with the biggest density per capita of vineyards. Again, Moldova is first, second comes Spain, for example. So we have like 4 hectares per each 100 people of vineyards, while Spain comes with 2 hectares per each 100 inhabitants. Again, Moldova's exports, 7% of all total exports are wine exports, and that brings about 3% of the national GDP. And we export about 50 million bottles in about 70 countries worldwide. Here you can see the top export markets. Of course, Romania comes first, Poland second, Czech Republic third, Russia fourth. You have to know that, of course, after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the exports to Russia has dropped by almost 50% in 2022 compared to 2021. So definitely there's a big shift. Again, we have China coming fifth, United States, Ukraine, Canada, Turkey, and Holland. Again, Moldova is also 6th in the world as for a total vine surface, about 122,000 hectares, and it's home to about 200 wineries, more than 200 wineries, some of which also are holding the biggest wine collections in the world. For example, there is Melești Mici, winery from central of Moldova that has the biggest wine collection, bottled wine collection, about 1.5 million bottles that they keep in about 70 kilometers of underground galleries. It's a winery built into a limestone hill. So they have lots of galleries, more than 100 kilometers of galleries, underground galleries for that. And guess where it's the second biggest bottled wine collection? I mean, it's a rhetorical question. It's again in Moldova. There's another winery called Cricova that also have 1.3 million bottles. And guess where the third one is? No, it's in Germany. But still, again, this is a property that holds about 500,000 bottles. But this is to show you the gap between this, the first two, the biggest wine collections that are both in Moldova, and the third that is in Germany. Okay. Again, another way to promote our wines and our soft power in the world is participating at different wine competitions. In the past 10 years, Moldovan wines have been awarded about 6,500 medals, so plays an important part in promoting the country. Moldova more often becomes an important stage for different events, summits. For example, in 2018, it hosted a global wine tourism conference. So basically, Chișinău became a sort of a capital of international tourism for a couple of days. That's also important. Again, in 2020, again, Moldova was included in ITER Vitis cultural route. So basically, all the routes of wine tourism in Moldova was included into a bigger database, international database, so people can have easier access to information about Moldova and get a clear vision of the maps. So there are about 1,500 kilometers of routes in Moldova that you can visit. And of course, in 2022, Moldova was granted EU candidate status. So big things ahead of us. And on 1st of June 2023, Moldova also hosted the European Political Summit. So you can see the winery. It's also Castle Mimi that hosted this venue. So it shows you how big of a role the wine plays in our country. It intersects even with politics. But again, here's some footage from the summit. Of course, I guess Moldova again. Castle Mimi is the I would say, the only winery in the world that has hosted 47 leaders of international leaders at once in the same place. Yeah, more than 4,000 dishes were served during the event, because besides the leaders, there were their delegations, there were about 700 journalists, cameramans, photographers, 500 people were keeping the situation under control at all times. Yeah, a beautiful event for Moldova, and also in particular for Castelmimi. By the way, there were about 6,000 coffee cups served during the event, but we didn't count the wine. We never count how much wine it's consumed during during events. We just drink it and enjoy it. Of course, the Prime Minister of UK. Yeah, it was a busy day, but quite an interesting one as well. And of course, our President Maya Sandu, again, being very happy that the event was held successfully. Of course, a couple more words and we are straight to the wine. Castelmimi is, again, one of the leading producers of wine in Moldova. We are producing and selling about 1 million bottles per year in 25 countries. 5 biggest markets for us is Romania, Poland, China, Japan, and Sweden. But we also sell our wines in UK, so just in case, I will give you my number and I will lead you to our distributors, of course. So we have an import in Essex and one in Edinburgh. And of course, it's also among top 5 most visited places in the country. So we, again, welcome about 50,000 people each year, and half of them are foreigners. So that's why, again, people have nicknamed the chateau the small Versailles of Moldova. And I'm also welcoming you to visit us as well, to enjoy. Now, I'm welcoming, again, you to try the wines in the back, because it was a very long day, and I would like you to relax. We can have this, continue this friendly chat with a nice glass of wine in our hands. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Christian. Thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, let's try the wine that the leaders of Europe tried while they were in Castelmimi in Moldova. Thank you so much for joining today, and we'll see you all tomorrow.